When Senator Gary Peters spoke up in Congress, it wasn't about numbers on a spreadsheet or some abstract policy debate, it was about life and death. Imagine living in a small rural town where storms can strike in the dead of night. Your only warning comes from the National Weather Service, but what if the office that's supposed to protect you doesn't even have enough staff to stay open around the clock? That's the reality Peters confronted head-on. He didn't ask for a lecture or a fancy explanation. He asked a simple human question: will you keep this office running so families don't get blindsided by disaster? Yes or no? But instead of giving a straight answer, the response was a dismissive shrug wrapped in technical jargon about outdated computers and green screens.
In here today.
Nice to see you.
I know you've talked about this issue a fair amount today, but it's important to me, and I want to bring it up as well. The National Weather Service forecasting offices are absolutely critical to public safety, and I know my colleagues have raised this issue, but I think it's important for me to restate so you just know how important it is for all of us here. The employees in these offices issue weather and flood warnings, as you know, maintain critical observation equipment, protect life and property, and literally for decades, they've always been open 24/7 because weather happens at night too, not just during the day. It happens all the time. However, we have a self-inflicted staffing shortage on the part of your department that has left us with too few employees to ensure round-the-clock operation in a number of locations around the country already. And has also left other offices, such as the one up in Michigan's Upper Peninsula in Marquette, spread so thin that they're concerned that they will not be able to provide the 24/7 coverage. So this is a major concern for us, particularly in a very rural part of the state. And while I was happy to see Monday's announcement that the National Weather Service has been granted an exemption to President Trump's hiring freeze, you never should have allowed things to get to that point in my mind, but I'm happy that that's happening. Certainly it's people's lives we're taking. So I'm going to ask you just a yes or no question. So this will be really short, and then we can get on to another issue. Will you commit to me that the forecasting office in Marquette, Michigan will not cease its round-the-clock operation? Yes or no would be great.
You don't understand it yet because no one's explained it to you. These are hard drive computers, literally, that no one has seen in 25 years with green screens in these offices. They should be on a cloud. Our 2,000 meteorologists should be able to watch them round the clock. The concept that we're talking about, a green screen and a hard drive.
So the answer is no, you're saying?
No, we were going to modernize it. We are going to staff those offices. I can commit that we're going to staff those offices, but I will commit to you that the next time you see me, the concept of having 3 people at some regional office will be laughable because our 2,000 meteorologists and our hundreds of hydrologists will be able to stay and forecast and protect us in a modern way instead of these green screens and hard drives, and it's hard-coded and it's absurd.
Okay, so a no answer, a no answer. One of Congress's biggest bipartisan achievements, I think, over the past few years was the passage of the BEAD program, which gives funds to individual states to connect every citizen to the fastest, the most reliable internet that's possible. Right now, your department is slowing down these broadband projects and has a 90-day freeze. States are ready to move forward. Michigan's ready to move forward. Broadband providers are standing by. And the summer construction season is already underway, and it's a short season in Michigan, particularly in the northern parts. Unfortunately, you've indicated your department is planning to release new rules that would force states to restart their bidding process and tell states that they can't choose which are the best performing broadband technologies for their individual community. You've said that you care about efficiency. I appreciate that. But let's be clear, forcing states to start a process over would waste millions of dollars, add months, potentially years of delays to shovel-ready broadband projects that are ready to go this summer, especially in states like Michigan with a short building season. Millions of Americans, including over 250,000 Michigan households, are on the brink of receiving low-cost, high-speed internet. And your department, I believe, shouldn't stand in the way of this. So again, another yes or no question. Do you agree that it would be a huge waste of money and a disservice to Americans who need reliable internet service to restart a bidding and proposal process?
No, the Biden administration had 30 months and they did nothing. We are going to say within the next 90 days, as long as you are technologically agnostic and you agree to provide the broadband at the cheapest price per user, then we will get it 90 days for application and out the door by the end of calendar year 2025. 30 months under Biden, no funding. 100% under Trump administration by the end of 2025. That's impressive, and you should at least agree if we get it all out by the end of 2025, that'd be super.
Well, we'd like to have a faster than a 90-day process. The states have been working on this for some time. The state of Michigan is there. It is technology neutral, so that is something that you've talked about.
Well, then it should be easy for them.
And it should be easy.
Right.
And
if they're technologically neutral, it'll go like that.
Well, can I work with you to get that done for Michigan?
Sounds great. I'm happy to do that for you.
Great, thank you. That's super.
It was the kind of answer that reveals something deeper, the dangerous gap between Washington officials obsessed with modernization and the communities who just need protection right now. Peters pushed because he knows the stakes. This isn't about theory, this is about survival. For decades, America's safety has depended on one quiet but vital promise that the National Weather Service will always be there. Day or night, rain or shine, holidays or weekends, local forecasting offices have worked around the clock to track storms, issue warnings, and sound the alarm when danger is near. But Senator Peters exposed a grim truth: that promise is now hanging by a thread. Because of staffing shortages and hiring freezes, several offices across the country are stretched so thin they fear they can't maintain 24/7 coverage. In places like Michigan's Upper Peninsula, where storms can arrive fast and without warning, that's not just an inconvenience. It's a direct threat to families who rely on those alerts to survive tornadoes, floods, and blizzards. Peters' concern was simple and urgent: what happens to people if the office can't keep the lights on through the night? When lives are at stake, clarity should be the bare minimum. But instead of a firm commitment, he got vague promises about modernization. That left the haunting possibility unanswered: could rural communities one day face a deadly storm without the warnings they've always trusted? And as troubling as that was, the storm brewing over broadband would be just as explosive. When Peters asked a direct question, will the Marquette Weather Office keep its doors open 24/7, he expected a direct answer. Instead, what came back was something entirely different. Howard Lutnick didn't say yes, he didn't say no, he sidestepped, diving into a speech about outdated technology, green screen monitors, and hard drives that belonged in a museum. To him, the issue wasn't about people missing life-saving warnings, it was about modernization. He painted a picture of a future where thousands of meteorologists could log in from anywhere, connected to a sleek cloud system. In his view, the idea of 3 staffers sitting in a rural office would someday seem laughable. But Peters wasn't asking about the future, he was asking about right now. Families in Michigan can't wait for futuristic solutions while storms tear across the state today. They need real people, in real offices, watching the skies when danger comes in the middle of the night. That disconnect between a senator pleading for urgent safety and a leader offering buzzwords made one thing clear: the gap between Washington's vision and rural America's reality is wider than anyone wants to admit, and broadband would expose that divide even further. If weather warnings are about survival in the moment, broadband is about survival in the modern world. In Michigan's Upper Peninsula and across rural America, reliable internet isn't a luxury, it's the backbone of daily life. Kids need it to attend school, workers need it to stay competitive, families need it for telehealth visits, and entire communities depend on it for emergency communication. That's why Congress passed the BED program, funneling billions of dollars into states to make sure every household can connect. But Peters sounded the alarm: those shovel-ready projects are being stalled. Instead of letting states move forward with construction during the short summer season, new rules are forcing delays and even threatening to restart bidding processes from scratch. For states like Michigan, where the building window is narrow, every week counts. Families are waiting, school years are beginning, businesses are falling behind, and the clock is ticking. Peters warned that forcing communities to hit pause now could waste millions of dollars and push them years further away from the internet service they desperately need. The message was clear: broadband isn't just about streaming movies, it's about equal opportunity, public safety, and whether rural families get left in the digital dark. When Peters pressed harder on broadband, the exchange quickly turned into a clash over priorities. On one side, Peters argued that states like Michigan were ready to break ground, contractors were lined up, and communities were waiting. On the other side, Lutnick insisted that delays were necessary to guarantee efficiency and fairness. He framed the pause as a way to ensure technological neutrality and the lowest possible costs per user. But to Peters, that explanation fell flat. Michigan wasn't asking for special treatment or shortcuts, it had already done the work to meet the requirements. What the state needed was permission to move forward before the short construction season slipped away. Every lost month meant families would wait longer for access to school, healthcare, and emergency services. The tension grew sharper when Peters pointed out the hidden cost of efficiency. Restarting the bidding process might sound good in a hearing room, but on the ground it would waste millions of taxpayer dollars and set back shovel-ready projects that could begin tomorrow. It wasn't just a disagreement over rules, it was a debate over time, and whether leaders in Washington understood how delays on paper translate into real suffering for families in rural America. What made this entire exchange stand out wasn't just the substance of the debate, it was the tone. When Peters raised concerns, he wasn't talking theory, he was talking about families in rural Michigan who depend on storm warnings to survive the night, and students who can't do their homework without internet access. His questions were clear, grounded, and urgent, but the responses he received carried a dismissive edge, as if modernization plans on a spreadsheet outweighed the real-world consequences people face every single day. That's the disconnect. In Washington, it's easy to talk about efficiency, technology neutrality, and long-term modernization, but in places far from the capital, what matters is whether the weather alert comes through before the tornado hits, or whether a child can log on to a classroom without driving miles to find a Wi-Fi signal. When leaders brush off these immediate concerns with "you don't understand yet," it reveals more than a policy gap, it reveals a lack of empathy. It's the sense that rural families, farmers, small towns, and working-class communities are expected to wait for promises while their daily struggles are sidelined. And that disconnect leads to a bigger question: what kind of leadership do people really deserve? The hearing made one truth impossible to ignore: modernization and efficiency are important, but they cannot replace accountability in the present. Families in Michigan, and across rural America, are not asking for miracles. They're asking for the basics: to know when a storm is coming, and to have the internet access that connects them to the rest of the world. These aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. Senator Peters pressed for yes or no answers because communities can't afford to live in the gray area. A missed weather alert isn't just an inconvenience, it can be the difference between life and death. A stalled broadband rollout isn't just about streaming or online shopping, it's about children falling behind in school, patients missing telehealth appointments, and businesses unable to compete. What this exchange revealed is the widening gap between leaders who talk in timelines and buzzwords, and the people who live with the consequences of every delay. That gap won't close on its own. It takes pressure, accountability, and a demand for urgency. So here's the challenge: don't settle for sound bites. Expect real answers, real commitments, and real action, because lives and futures are on the line, and waiting is no longer an option. If you want leaders to act now, not someday, share this video, stay engaged, and make your voice heard.